Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. I am your host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff, and joining me is my co-worker, my co-laborer in the vineyard, and expert investment advisor, Terrence Hollingsworth. Good evening, Terry.
Hello, Howard's Maywood. Let's talk about talk Maywood crowd tonight.
Yeah, we in full effect, man. And Maywood's doing good. And I was home recently. It was good to see my mom and my siblings and friends, my whole old high school wrestling teammates from our 86 state championship and nationally ranked championship squad. So, we kicked a little bit, reminisced just a little bit. But, that competitive nature came out. We were trying to find out who was the top bowler because, we aren't just wrestlers. We athletes who
Oh,
could wrestle,
see, we're
you know.
like other balls.
Yeah, there were a lot of gutter balls. So we didn't say that part, but there were a few. So there were a couple of them who were pretty good, but it was just a good time, man, and it was good being home as always. And and I was back to the saddle and back to work, and all's well. How's
Yeah,
everything in
so
your end?
let's talk about the confusion a little bit from last week. Partly my fault. I was traveling, and we kind of thought that we were going to be able to get the show running. We had some technical things, but we will do that show in a couple of weeks, and
Mhm.
it'll be good. So
For sure. That's the thing with technology. Things can happen. But, we've been running concurrently from the beginning, going on, 2 years or something like that. So, rarely do we have a show that we miss. So I say we're about 98% effective when it comes to running on time. And we run live. So we've been running live. And I think that bodes well for us, man, because we still have that platform where people come on from different genres, different industries, different areas of discipline, and it's been a raging success.
yeah, the thing about it is, we want to make sure that we are telling stories well. We want to bring everybody into a place of better understanding. As you know, um, I try to find a balance between, being here and engaging well to try and talk finance with people,
Yeah,
but in a way that matters, that is
yeah,
helpful. Because
yeah,
sometimes in the world of finance, there's just a lot of information.
yeah.
If you watch TV, they're going to try to tell both sides of the story, and as an investor or a person that doesn't know much about investing, then you get lost in the sauce.
Right.
So
Well, we think about Terry even from an investment or economic standpoint because what's happening, like with the debt ceiling, the
yeah,
discussion with the debt ceiling, when House Republican McCarthy and President Biden going back and forth, and we know that impacts our economy and impacts our stock market. But just talk about that in a little depth in a few moments. Um, how that impacts us strategically in terms of investments.
yeah. So the American dollar is the world's reserve currency, and what that means is that every other currency in the world is based off of how well the American dollar is, and so um, the most famous statement there is it says it is backed by the full faith and credit of the American government.
Hmm.
Um, we've never defaulted on a loan payment, and so our economy is the best in the world,
Hmm.
and therefore, um, it's considered safe. So when you
Yeah.
buy U.S. Treasuries, you're going to get the lowest yield you can, comparable to every other currency out there. Now,
Mhm.
I'll tell you that's changing, right? China now is defending, or they're saying screw the American dollar. We're going to trade, based off everybody's currency,
Yeah.
and so we don't know for sure how that's going to play itself out. Um, we know this: they're not going to default on the loan payments coming up in the next week or so. They're going to
Hmm.
raise the debt ceiling. They're going to print some more money,
Yeah.
and we're going to maintain that status, because if we don't, we will never get it back.
Right. Yeah. That's why when I hear the media talk about, well, it's a threat, it's going to destroy, bankrupt the American economy. Like, I'm not worried about that. Just because what you said, they'll print more money, the loans will not default. Regardless, they're going to meet an agreement. It's just what they're doing is just tussling. They're grappling, playing on words, trying to scare the U.S. consumer. What do you say?
Well, I'll tell you what the Republicans tried to do, or is trying to do. They're trying to make Biden reverse his student loan
Yeah,
agreement or whatever. So they're
yeah,
saying we'll raise the debt ceiling only if you allow us to say that you're not forgiving student loans.
hmm
And either way, I don't think the Republicans. Everybody agrees that you just can't um, default on loan payments.
right, absolutely,
So what that means is probably the stock market is going to rally like it did today,
yeah,
but it's not going to rally too hard. The day that they raise the debt ceiling, the market probably is going to sell off. It's not going to trade higher. But
right.
that's kind of what we do. It's called um, buy the rumor, sell the news.
Sell the news. By the rumor, sell the news. Yeah. In addition to that, I know Republicans wanted to cut the spending. They wanted to address people who are on TANF, for those who are able-bodied to receive who receive TANF, or formerly known as food stamps, to wean off that program. They talked about other SNAP, for example. Talk about those who are on SNAP, those who are between the ages of 18 and 49. So they want them to even more have more stringent rules, and it's a Republican agenda led by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And the bottom line, like you said, Terry, the bottom line is they will reach an agreement. But what's
Yeah,
most important for me, Terry, is that the audience that who reach out to us and we reach out to, will get the truth, you know, the details. And so they
yeah.
won't be afraid or see social media and just see all these offhand comments when people don't have the full story, or the knowledge for that matter.
And the truth is that we're leaving a lot of money on the table, right? Being scared, saying, "Well, we're waiting to see what happens." Well, in the meantime, the market is not waiting, right? And
Right,
so you
right.
you look at Netflix. If you bought Netflix last year, it was terrible. It wasn't doing well.
hmm
Well, I think it's up probably, I think 100%. I know Apple is up 100%
hmm
since the beginning of the year. So
Yeah.
don't get caught in the noise, which is probably the most important advice that we can give tonight. Is stay focused on your individual strategy, be vested in the market, and ultimately let's go and put some money to work so we can get the benefit of of what's going on in the market.
We want our people to be knowledgeable. We want our people to prosper. We want to be able to pay it forward, and not live paycheck to paycheck, but do it in a strategic way, the right way. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you come on every week, Terry, to share this information.
Yeah, so at some point, you guys should reach out to us. Um, how do they get a hold of you, Reggie?
So for our wealth management classes, you can reach out to me at sratliff68 at yahoo.com. We talk about topics such as this. We'll also touch upon other topics such as Montana, the governor of Montana banning TikTok, the first state to do that. Why did he do it? How does that impact investors? How does that impact, if anything, the U.S. economy? So we
Yeah.
get into details. We get into debt, into what these things are happening, how it impacts us. And again, you can reach out to me at sratliff68 at yahoo.com. Our classes are free, virtual, and they run 5:30 to 6:30 every Thursday. That's 5:30 Central Standard Time. So please tune in so you can get real life, in depth analysis from myself and the expert, Terrence Hollingsworth.
All right. See you guys next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I'm excited about bringing on our guest. Her name is Mrs. Evelyn Craig Wallace. She is from Maywood. She is married to brother Curtis Wallace. They have 5 children together. Now, Miss Wallace is from Maywood, as I mentioned. She graduated from Emerson High School, so she is a warrior, which is all good. She did go to District 89 school. She also graduated from Proviso West High School after attending Oak Park River Forest High School, and she attended Triton Community College. And in addition to that, she is a nurse in the Chicago Public School. She started an organization in honor of her son, Erskine Body the Fourth, as well as her mom, Janice R. Johnson. Her organization, which is called the Erskine Body the Fourth and Janice R. Johnson Cancer Lupus Association of Proviso Township, is designed to support people that have cancer or lupus and family that have family members with Alzheimer's. And without further ado, I'd like to bring on Mrs. Evelyn Craig Wallace. Mrs. Evelyn, can you see me? Can you hear me? I see your hand. You're on mute, Evelyn. So can you unmute yourself? Evelyn, can you unmute yourself? I can't unmute yourself, Evelyn. We having some.
I'm trying. I couldn't
Okay,
hear
there you go. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. I couldn't hear you at first. So if you said something, I didn't get to hear it.
Just wanted to welcome you to the podcast. And
How
it looks
you
like
doing?
you're multitasking. You
Yes.
grandmama men and
Yeah.
mama men
See ya.
and maybe Ating and all that stuff. So wanted to bring you on this evening and welcome you to Let's Talk Maywood. So I gave an introduction about you, Evelyn. First thing I talked about, was family, being married to Curtis and a mother of 5, going to Oak Park. Then you graduated from that school in Hillside, the high school in Hillside.
You know what?
I think it's called West, wannabe East.
Don't hate because Proviso East is slow.
West, yeah. So you are Panther. So with that said, you're a Maywood resident of 33 years. You bought your first home at 19.
Yes. He's talking about the Panthers. She's a Panther too, so don't go there.
That's cute. How you doing?
Panther love all day.
All right.
Best
So back
you
to the
ever-
podcast. So you bought your first home at 19 years of age, and you've been in it for 33 years, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So talk about, first of all, how was it growing up for you in Maywood? I mean, how many siblings did you have? And your mom was very active in the community. So talk about that.
Yeah, I'm my only child. My mom was on the board for Bellwood. She was on the board for the school district. And like you said, I have 5 children. And basically, I started off in Oak Park and then ended up in Maywood. And then that's how I ended up at Proviso West.
Okay. So growing up in Maywood, was there anything that really stood out for you in terms of growing up in Maywood, Evelyn?
Say that again.
You may want to let your family know that this is live.
No, I'm trying to let this window up.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was asking you about growing up in Maywood. How was it growing up in Maywood for you?
It was okay. I mean, it had how would I say? When I started growing up in Maywood, when I came to Maywood, it was a little more easier to walk the streets somewhat. It wasn't as like right now you got to really watch your back. I mean, and that's in a lot of areas as well with, drive-bys and this and that in the economy. We did have a couple of grocery stores in Maywood. I actually worked at Jewel's in Maywood. And then basically after Jewel's died off, then that was the end of that. Then we had the little grocery store on 5th. Right. So right now, Maywood really don't have, they closed the Aldi. So we really don't have any grocery stores. You have to go to other cities or, Oak Park or Hillside and all that.
Yes.
To get groceries or whatever.
So I know there's a Kroger distribution center right on 19th. I know it's not a grocery store, but
Well, I mean, we heard about that, but it hadn't been okay. You know how you hear about word of mouth.
Right.
It wasn't more. I mean, if they had it in a newspaper, maybe they did have flyers. But some parts of Maywood, like I even told the mayor before, we don't get a lot of the advertisement on our side of Maywood.
Mm.
Like some meetings we don't hear unless you just know somebody that's in the loop with the village.
Right.
You don't know until you hear this and that. It's like one time I got a message. I went to the library and I got a message on my car about come to this meeting, they're trying to raise our taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I went and I explained to the mayor and other people, we never really get any type of anything literature, what's going on. And they're good to say about the little ad book they sent out. Like it's a little book, a Maywood book, but everybody don't always get that, even though it's
Right.
supposed to come in the mail. And
Right.
I explained that as well to the mayor. And then I also brought on, and I asked the mayor, I said, like in Chicago, you know how if it's vacant buildings or houses or whatever in the area, they give them residents opportunity to buy that land for $1
Mm-hmm.
so they can keep the upkeep of that land instead of giving outsiders to do it.
Right. Right.
And I told him that I'm like, why can't we do that instead of you all always bringing outsiders in, giving them tax breaks? Why
Yeah.
not give us tax breaks? Let us get this property, build up our community, and then go, give us the same tax break
Right.
and
So
let
you talk
us
about,
buy the yard. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Mayor Nathaniel Booker. You speaking of, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um. So how was that? How was the response from the board and from the
Well,
mayor?
he was like, it was in a meeting. Like I probably was like one of the youngest people there at the meeting. He was like, "Oh yeah." I mean, besides him, oh, that's a good idea. That sounds great. I mean, it's just probably in one ear and out the next. I'm not for sure if he took heed to it. I mean, he seemed like he was interested in the idea because, like I told him, first of all, you all bring companies or people in, give them 12-year tax breaks. We're eating up the cost on the taxes. And then after 12 years, when they know the taxes are about to hit them, they leave. So I told him, and this is what I said, I said, look, you all should put in that little clause. If you, after 12 years, if you call yourself leaving, you need to pay us back 12 years worth of taxes.
Okay.
That was my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this: have you seen your property tax increase a lot over your 33-year owning your home?
Yes, I may have started off with $1,000 a year, and now I'm at almost 8,000 a year.
Wow, that's almost on the same level as like Oak Park.
Right. And then, matter of fact, one year it was something I was calling in reference to, and the lady said, "Well, what kind of mansion you live in?" And I'm like, "I ain't living in a mansion. I'm living in a house with 2 bathrooms and blah blah blah." I
Right,
was
a
explaining that to
bungalow.
her,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Oh wow," and it don't make sense. Like, and every year it's going up. And matter of fact, let me tell you, this is how bad it is. My taxes and insurance is more than my interest and my interest in my principal.
Right.
I'm
Wow.
paying more with the taxes and insurance than I am with my interest and principal.
So let me ask you this, because I want to get into your reason for starting your organization. You
Mm-hmm,
and Janine, I'm going to bring her on in a moment,
mm-hmm,
but I'm glad I'm talking to you first, Evelyn.
mm-hmm.
If everything is going the way it does, that is happening in Maywood, increasing taxes, higher crime, and things like that, why wouldn't you just sell your home and invest in a community that is more economically stable? Like, what is your thought?
Well, one thing is I'm almost finished paying for my house, number one. And I mean, yeah, I could go sell it and get some money and move somewhere, and hopefully I get enough that would buy me a house that I don't have to pay mortgage each month, which could be fine. But right now, in 5 years, basically, my house will be paid off. So would I make the move to go buy and start over again? I'm getting older. I'm not getting no younger. And I don't want to sit up and go buy a new house. And it's like I'm starting over. I'm not getting no younger. So that's why I decided to stay in Maywood.
Right.
Like I say, we don't have much to offer in Maywood right now.
Do you see changes happening with the most recent election, Evelyn, for the better in Maywood? I know there's some things that's been in place, even with the rebuild of Washington Boulevard and
Right.
the, things like that
Well,
on
that's the
St.
only
Charles
thing I
Road.
see right now is the new the Washington is gonna, taking place. And that was part of the meeting because we were all talking about Washington, like when y'all gonna fix Washington.
Right.
But you can't only just fix that street and patch the other streets.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
have a big hole in my street.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed it last year, and then they had to come back and fix it again. And I had to call and be like, it's a hole in the street. It's little now. It's gonna get bigger. They didn't listen. They finally came. It was a really big hole. So they had to
Mm-hmm.
dig all the way around and then patch it up. But it's just patchwork. Dig up the whole street and repave it now.
Right. Okay. No, I'm appreciate you sharing this because those out there who are watching this podcast, I'm sure they had similar experiences or feel the same way. So that's why we exist. So those who really haven't had a voice, whether it's at a board meeting or just in the media, the little media that Maywood has, just in the region or whatever, gives you a platform to talk about your interests and concerns. And so, with that said, I want to bring in your colleague Terry. I'm thinking she's in the green room. Miss Janine Johnson, who's also from Maywood and a Provisor Reese graduate and an Emerson Warrior graduate as well. Is that right, Evelyn?
Janine.
Yes.
I guess.
That's your ace. All right. So if she's in the green room rating, Terry, can you bring her in? All right. Miss Janine Johnson, how you doing?
Actually,
Janine.
she muted.
Yeah, Janine, you might be muted.
Fine. How are you?
Good. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
That's them East people. They slow.
No, I'm not muted.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just can't see you real
Can
clear.
you hear me now?
Yeah. So, Janine.
Good.
You're on. So, I was just talking to Evelyn about her experiences growing up in Maywood, being a resident.
Yes.
So talk about your experiences growing up in Maywood. I know that you went to Emerson and Proviso. Maywood is different now than it was back then. But talk about for a moment your experiences growing up in Maywood. Can you hear me, Janine?
Talk about what's going on now?
Talk about your experiences growing up in Maywood.
Say it again.
Talk about your experiences growing up in Maywood. Like how it was for you, your experiences growing up in Maywood.
Growing up in Maywood, everybody knew everybody. Everybody got along with everybody. We didn't have to worry about anything. We can play on the street and leave the doors open. We walked to the stores. We had all type of stores, Bob Sykes, and we had Bacall Hardware on St. Charles.
Yeah.
But growing up now, I wouldn't even want my kids over there.
Okay. You're talking about in Maywood, growing up in Maywood.
Yes.
What do you see as the challenges? I know that you live in Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What kind of challenges? Because you go home on a regular basis, so it's not like you haven't been home. But what do you see differently now compared to when you did grow up in Maywood?
Just the disrespect of kids on the street cursing, and if you say something to them, they cursing you out, or just people hanging out and loud and obnoxious, and you see a lot of different stuff now that we didn't see back then, and we didn't have to worry about.
I know we talked off of the air about how, and Evelyn touched on this, about the number of businesses in Maywood. Even going back to the Lido Theater on Fifth Avenue, and Jules was mentioned, and Pick and Pay, A&P, you know, the car wash, Flash car wash, Robinson's Towing, right, White Way, you know, all those businesses that was owned by small business owners in Maywood, right?
And even Black owned business owners.
Black
That's the
owned business.
thing. We had the ice cream parlor, we had the record shop, we had Buddha's Ribs, that was the Grimes.
Right.
You know, their father owned that. And
Ernie's, right? Ernie's, remember Ernie's on Fifth? Yeah. We also had the Cleaners, Evans Cleaners on 17th. You mentioned off camera rather, the gas station on 19th Avenue.
Yeah, on 17th. Yeah, the gas station.
The old 7-Eleven on 9th and Madison, right across the street from the rec on 9th.
And we had Bob Sykes.
Sykes.
Yep, on Madison and on 13th.
Right. And we're not even talking about the other side of the bridge, you know, on Lexington and going forward.
7-Eleven.
Yeah, absolutely. 7-Eleven, absolutely. So there was the economy in Maywood was bustling, and it was very energetic. The money circulated in Maywood several times before it left the community. So, you know, I want to ask you in terms of your decision to move forward in life in your journey. You know, Maywood, when you left, I'm sure it wasn't as the shape that it's in today. But what was the motivation for you deciding to move forward and take the leap of faith and expand your journey outside of Maywood?
Just because it's like when they bring something to Maywood, it doesn't stay long and it's gone. They keep raising the taxes, and you scared to where we used to go and we say, oh, okay, we can stay over here or we used to can move anywhere. You can't just move anywhere now in Maywood. So, but even my mom, she still lives on 11th and Oak. She still lives in the same house.
Yeah. Wow. And my brother just mentioned mentioned Kelly's on 17th and Madison. I mean, the list goes on. You know, and then you got the Frey Hampton pool when it was operating. You know,
and it's crazy because this was maybe, when was it, Evelyn? About a year and a half ago. My mom was taking her dogs and putting them in the back, and this guy just came up and tried to rape her.
Oh Lord.
So it's getting really bad out there. I mean, she doesn't want to leave, but
well, I tell you, you know, during these times, especially post-COVID, you know, a lot of people are dealing with mental illness, and you know, I can attest that it's not just a Maywood thing; it's actually a global thing.
Yes.
You talk about the mass shootings, and you know, people. You know,
it is, but
things.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't get to tell you all. I mean,
and he can't. When he did that to my mom, he ran to Melrose Park.
To flee, right?
Oh yeah, sure did. About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Yeah.
My husband got carjacked April 8th.
About her husband getting carjacked.
Yeah, in front of our house in Maywood. I didn't mention that. But yes, he got carjacked outside our house.
So we see these things happening in Maywood today. And again, this is a platform for the citizens, whether current or former, to talk about things that's on their heart and their spirit as it relates to our hometown. Because we're always going to be Maywoodians. We're always going to be graduates of either Proviso East or Proviso West. This is never going to leave our soul, ever. And I know our conversations tonight is out of love and, of course, concern, heartbreak. We never want anything to happen to our loved ones, nor us. But with that said, you ladies decided to start a organization called the Erskine Body the Fourth and Janice R. Johnson Cancer Lupus Association of Proviso Township. My question is, what is that? The name, where is it bearing from, and what was the purpose of starting it?
The first reason, the purpose of starting it, my son Erskine Body the Fourth, he had cancer, and with that, you know, it was a struggle going back and forth, you know, with him to the doctor, you know, being able to pay bills, being able to function and having the support. You know, you can have your family support, but sometimes it helps to have a little extra support, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's why it's called Erskine Body Janice R. Johnson Cancer Lupus Association, because my mother had lupus. So
Hmm.
I just piggyback because we actually tried to start the organization before both of them passed away. And I know for experience when I was like I say dealing with my son and my mom, missing work. When you miss work, you don't get paid. Bills still got to get paid. And it's one thing my son said to me one day. He was like, "Ma, are you paying your bills? Is everything okay?" And I did a little white lie, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." Not knowing you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I started the organization to help. Um, give more people support on cancer and lupus. Let them know more about it, let alone just the doctors giving them medication, you know, teaching them how to eat right or do right and being supportive. And then also the money that I raised for like my 5K, for my Paint for Purpose, and for my basketball tournaments that my son played basketball. What I did with that, the money I raised, I actually sent out applications. People send them back, and then I tell them to send a bill as well and send it back. Let me know, they got cancer or lupus, a little, how it impacted their life. And then the money I try to pay a bill or two. Right
Hmm.
now, I'm not paying mortgages and rent yet because I haven't raised that much money yet. But when I get to that point and the Lord's blessed me that I can pay somebody mortgage for a month or rent or even for a year, but that's my purpose of starting the organization to actually give back and help.
Now, your son, Erskine, he actually went to St. Joe's, right? St. Joseph.
Yes, he did.
And he played for late Coach
Uh-huh.
Pingator. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay. So he was also active in the community. He just wasn't someone that just lived in the community. He was actually a student athlete as well.
right. He was a student athlete. He also got his degree as engineering from UIC. He had a he also went to Triton. He got his technical degree in engineer first, and then he got his other degree for the University UIC in Chicago.
Hmm.
So as a civil engineer. And
Okay.
and I thank God I am blessed to have 5 children.
Yes.
Three of them that did get engineer degrees. My baby girl, 24, she graduated from Horizon East,
Hey.
and she was the top of her class. And she has an engineer degree. She lives in Iowa now. And my other son, he lives in Broadview. He has his he has an industrial degree in engineer.
Hmm.
And then I have pre-med daughter, and my other daughter you all seen earlier, Anjali. She has a degree in law.
Okay. Hey, Evelyn,
Yes.
I'm gonna come back to you because I don't want anything to happen while you pumping that gas. Okay.
Right, on the phone.
So,
Y'all just see me blow up.
well, we're not gonna wish that, but we'll come back to you. Janine, I know you were part of the build and the vision for the
Yes.
organization. Did you share the same vision? Was there something else you wanted to add to what Evelyn said?
No, she pretty much summed it up, but it was a many nights where I can vouch for her that with both of them being sick, she was on one floor for so many hours and she would have to go down to the next floor for
Mm,
so many hours because they were in the hospital at the same time,
okay.
and
Yeah.
then try to get home and take care of her husband and family.
Mm,
So this
yes.
was pretty much why the organization pretty much came about.
When did
Yeah.
Erskine pass away?
September
A lot of
25th,
late nights, a lot
2016.
of long late nights.
September
September
25th, 2016.
2016. But he did leave behind a child, right? I mean, there's a child that was birthed. Was it
Ye-
after his?
It was after when he got diagnosed with cancer. When he got diagnosed with cancer, and I talked to him, and I was like, Erskine, what if this is before he got married? I said, what if one day you want to get married, and you want to have children, and your wife want to have children, and the cancer chemo may destroy your eggs or whatever. I mean your sperm cell or whatever. When you want to harvest your sperm. And he was like, Ma. So then we did actually be able to harvest his sperm through UIC, and we got to save it. And he never got to see the baby, but we did IVF with his daughter, and
Okay.
she'll be 6 this year.
Amen. That's what a blessing. That was a good suggestion. Good
Yeah, a
move.
lot of people ask me like, how did you know to say, you know, save
Yeah.
the sperm and this and that? And I
Right.
can truly say it's God. God directed me to ask my son because he directed me to talk to my son about it. My son was looking like, Ma. And then we went down the day. Actually, I called the sperm bank the day before, and I talked to the young lady, and it was crazy. Her name was Martha, name in the
Mm,
Bible. And I
yes.
said, my son is about to start chemo, blah, 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 blah. He was 21. And she was like, well, ma'am, you normally have to wait a 2-week out program, for an appointment. I said, well, ma'am, tomorrow he start chemo. Once he start chemo, you cannot harvest and save sperm,
Mm.
with chemo, having chemo. So she told me, well, just come on down now. And just come on down now. And
What
we
kind?
went.
Yes, that's powerful, powerful testimony. And what kind of cancer did he have, Evelyn?
Well, they call it undifferentiated carcinoma. They were never ever able to detect the type of cancer he had because we
Okay.
really don't have cancer in our family.
Mm.
So we still to this day don't know. They call it undifferentiated carcinoma.
And what does the future look like for the organization? What are your goals? What is your vision to move
Um,
forward?
my vision, I'm actually trying to do a 5K in August. We normally do them in June, but it's the time frame kind of slipped away. I'm trying to point towards August. It's just the cost of paying out because everything costs. And
Hmm.
I'm hoping to one day be blessed to get my own building. So when we do our own paint for purposes, I don't have to, the money I raise, I got to pay somebody to use their facility
Right.
to, I want to be able to keep that money in the organization so I can help. The reason I'm making the money is to help out. But if I have to spend it out, it gets costly.
Yes, indeed. I know just from experience that there are a lot of grants and things like that that support your vision and to pay it forward, if you will, because I know this is something that you aspire to do, you and Janine and your board and your daughters and your son. So
Mhm.
I pray that everything goes well, and this message will reach the audience to even contribute in any way they can, whether it's in kind or through financial donations. So
Yes.
as we close this podcast, I want to thank you for taking time. Obviously, you're a busy mom and grandmom. So, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience in terms of health, mental well-being, or just being a mother?
Well, I would just, one of our biggest problems now is our eating habits. um a lot of the stuff that we're eating now and consuming is bad for our health. A lot of people are going vegan. No, I'm not vegan. I eat a little this and that. I'm not strictly I do like meat, so right now I'm still eating my little meat. But keep the faith, and we as Black people, colored people, we need to stick together more so than anything. I mean, if you look, I mean, like right now we have a lot of Hispanic people coming in the community, and believe it or not, they stick together. White people, they stick together, but when it comes to us as Black, brown people, we don't stick together for whatever reason that is. And it shouldn't be like that. We need to help each other. If you see a brother down, let's pick them up and let's push and strive for the better future instead of talking them down. And we talk down at each other. We need to speak with each other and speak at each other and help each other, not speak and talk about each other. And and I'm praying that one day I can be able to have a building to talk about motivation speaking, as far as helping our community, helping each other out, and then helping bless the families. And in 19, I was able to bless these paying bills because I was like, well, I'm out of money, and mad at me like, what you did have, but I was sure I could have gained more.
Understood. Thank you for your powerful words, your powerful testimony. Before I let you go, I do have one more question Did we lose her? Okay. Can you bring Janine? Okay, there you are. Evelyn, I want to ask you this. You are a nurse in Chicago Public School System, right?
Yes.
Do you see what you were just talking about, eating right and everything? Do you see that as a challenge in the schools in your day to day?
The schools now are trying to eat right. They're trying to like give weed. They're trying to better the foods, but then the kids are not eating the food. Like, they're giving out carrots and different vegetables, different fruits. They're trying,
Mm-hmm.
because like a lot of the little kids are little porky pigs. I hate to say it. They're
Mm-hmm.
big. And when you see a little kid that's big like that, either they're going to get smaller as they grow or they're going to get wider as they grow.
Mm-hmm.
But it all depends on what we're giving them and putting in their mouth and what they're eating when they go home. And like I see kids every day. I have one student, she was so upset about, being big. She wouldn't eat. But I explained to her, you have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no matter what. But they're trying. Some of the schools are trying to fix the food a little bit better than what it was.
Okay, that's a good thing. Well, hopefully they will get on the right track. And I know kids aren't used to eating wheats and carrot and broccoli and things like that. Um, but I know Michelle Obama, First Lady
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Obama, had nutrition program that she's been promoting, and hopefully that comes to fruition because our people, we are we are the least healthiest
Yes.
ethnicity, so we do have a lot of work to do. But I do thank you for your time and for your contribution to the community, Evelyn.
Yes.
Please stay with us even after the podcast. We lost Janine, but we know that she was on your board, and so we pray
Yeah.
that her contributions will result in a fruitful relationship with the community going forward. So that is our podcast for tonight. I want to thank everyone who tuned in. I'd like to thank Mrs. Evelyn Craig Wallace and Janine Johnson of the Erskine Body the Fourth, and Janice R. Johnson, Cancer Lupus Association of Proviso Township. Please become engaged and become involved in your community and get tested. Do not wait until you see or feel a lump. Please go to the doctor on an annual basis so that you may be proactive and not reactive. And until our next guest come on, our next phenomenal guest, I bid you a pleasant evening. Be safe. Like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. I am Dr. Reggie Ratliff. Be blessed. Good night.